hello, everyone,
Can they
and
hear us?
welcome to Marriage Motivating Moments. I don't know if they can hear us. If you can hear us, just let us know that you can hear us, okay? I'll look down at my comments to make sure you all can hear us. But welcome, everyone, to Marriage Motivating Moments. I am yours truly. I was going to say Emmanuel. Yours
Because
truly.
you be forgetting my name. That's why. See.
Yours truly.
She want to make sure she got my name right tonight.
Emmanuel and Eliana Connie. Yes. So good to have you. First of all, let me just say thank you to everyone who has been continuing to support us, who's been continuing to share, even on our YouTube. You've been going to it and viewing it. Even now, we're going to ask that you would go now, share, like, comment, tag somebody who you think might need to be a part of this conversation. We are going to be talking about sacrifices, the sacrifices we have to make in a marriage, in a family, as a as a couple, as a husband, as a wife, the sacrifices that we make. So again, thank you to everyone who has been continuing to support us, hitting us up, encouraging us, liking, tagging, sharing, giving us your comments. We appreciate you, and we are absolutely glad to be back. I want to say, while we are here, we just came out of Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all of the fathers that we have who are doing the thing with their children. We want to say that we celebrate you, Black man, and we are appreciative for you and everything that you continue to do. Also, we are in the middle, or we just finished celebrating Juneteenth. Amen. So we celebrate the fact that we are now free. According to, I guess, the government. Don't get you started on that, huh, babe? But anyway, happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go right into sacrifices, because I know you could take us somewhere else with that.
The actual subject is marriage is based upon self-sacrifice, and I want to set the stage and just very briefly, because I wanted to make sure now, I articulated this the way my thoughts have been since me and my wife had talked about this particular subject. But I want to forget, if please we getting thousands of views on YouTube, but very few people are subscribing to our YouTube channel. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Marriage Motivated Moments on YouTube, so that you can get these videos or get these exciting things that we are discussing on YouTube, through YouTube. But I want to go on.
It keeps blowing out. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it keeps like blinking in and out. So I'm not sure if it's something with the connection. But if we happen to drop, we're going to come right back. Okay. Right. So don't go anywhere.
Well, marriage is based upon, and I want to get through this. I have a few points. I really do just have a few points tonight. But again, but I think it's, a lot of times people ask me and my wife a lot of questions on how did y'all make it for 30-something years of marriage, through the ups, the down, the bitter, the sweetness, the happiness, the dull moments, the moments you feel like just throwing in the towel and things in that nature. How did you mix? And see, most people are unaware of the self-sacrifice that it takes in regards to marriage. So today, I don't know what my wife's points are on this subject, but mine, I'm going to be able to just give you what I believe and what I come to understand, that, the Creator designed marriage to be. But in general, the idea is that when entering into a marriage, it becomes not just one person in the picture, but there are now two people into a relationship. At times, each may have their own preferences and ways of doing things. I have my ways, my wife has her ways. Trust and believe. And thus, in order to ensure that the relationship can be maintained and grow, one or both may have to give away or give in a bit. Sometimes it's never 50-50. I don't know who came up with that saying, 50-50. No, it's never 50-50. Sometimes, brother, you got to give in 80%. And sometimes the sister may have to give in 100% or 90%, because there's something that the Creator how he has created us, and in that word submission. And that's a whole nother conversation to have. But and have a degree, but to have a degree of self-sacrifice for the sake of the continued harmony between the two. See, so it's about the sacredness of the continued harmony. And when you're not seeking continued harmony and willing to do what is necessary to sacrifice in your marriage to keep that harmony in place, then that's why so many marriages, 2/3 of the world's marriages every year ends up in divorce. Why? Why are so many people being divorced? 4 to 6 million people, marriages are ending up in divorce yearly in America alone. And so, however, it should also be noted that it would not be healthy for a person. Now you got to understand this here. You can't, but sister, you just can't always give 100%. And nobody can always expect you to do everything and give your all, and then they don't give anything. That's just not going to work. You can't have one person to feel like they are in a constant state of self-sacrifice, and the other person is not putting in no work. They're not willing to put in the work in their own human inclinations that can help bring about the harmony and the sacredness of that marriage and that relationship that comes with. You can't have just one person doing it all. That's not the way that go. Okay, that they are always, and then they are always denying their own needs for the sake of the other person. So therefore, you can't do that. You can't always, I'm just going to do it because that's my husband. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, that's why a lot of times the people take advantage of you in that way. They don't recognize the blessing that they have because they overlook it and they think it's all about them and it's not about you, or it's not about us, and it's not about the sacredness of this marriage. So then therefore it's that self-sacrifice that's needed. Rather, the healthy way will be for the couple to work together to ensure that each person's needs are met and satisfied, with each one feeling that they are suppressing any part of themselves, but on the contrary, feeling satisfied, and this is important, and to fulfill in all that they do. Now, there's been decades of studies of human well-being, especially the landmark study that was produced 80 years ago by Harvard Study of Adult Development, and provide some conclusions consistently. And my first point is, by every measure, marriage wins over staying single without ceremony with another individual. Now that ceremony is the marital ceremony. That ceremony is the coming together as husband and wife, not like they do on the West Coast, common law marriages and things in nature, people just shacking up. No. You ain't making no sacrifice when you do that. You got to put your name on the paper. You got to put your name on the ketubah, the contract of that marriage, of that relationship. That's where the self-sacrifice starts to take place. By every measure, I say it again, by every measure, marriage wins over staying single or living without a ceremony with another individual. Now, I want to say this, the sacred writers say this, the scholars say this: having children and raising them involve enormous amount of sacrifice. So people I want to get married, but you got to understand what it takes. You got to put work in this thing. This institution of marriage is very sacred. So when the sacred writers say having children and raising them involve in numerous sacrifice, people of faith should understand the concept of sacrifice. See, a lot of people miss what I'm saying here. So people of faith should understand the concept of sacrifice. Throughout history, people in the secular and consumerist and individual culture find it much harder to live by sacrifice and self-sacrifice in a marriage. Unfortunately for them, they fall into a trap of deception by this lying world that we are in. So they fail to live in the reality of the world of the divine and the kingdom of the master of the universe. So the second thing is this. When you look at this thing today, they call the reality. Huh? When you look at this thing, they say the reality. Whose reality are you living? You can't live the reality of this world because this present world, write this down. This present world is living the reality that you find in Genesis 19 and in the book of Judges 19. So if you understand what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah, and if you understand what happened in Genesis 19, you're seeing it before your eyes today. And so you can't violate the sacredness of marriage. So people of faith should understand the sacrifice and the need for sacrifice. Now, my second point is this, right? My second point is this.
I thought that was the second.
That was the first one. The last one. No, that's the first one. Okay. My second point is this. Okay. Yes. To marry is to have faith. To marry is to have faith in life. To believe that there is purpose of humankind and the eternal meaning of your own existence. See, people don't, you got to understand what this is. When we come together, we come in as one. So you can't come as one and become equally yoked in the oneness of yourselves. See, because then you become that one self. Like a lot of people say, me and my wife, we just, like hand in glove. Well, it took time to get to be that way in our inclinations and in our nature. So you got to be willing to sacrifice in your inclinations, and you have to be willing to sacrifice in your nature as a human being when going into a marriage and two becoming one. Now, let me say this. The truth is that marriage is much more than a commitment to life with another person. Marriage is much more. Marriage is a choice to live on a higher plane. Because when you come into the institution of marriage, you are self-sacrifice in the institution of marriage. It's a choice to live on a higher plane. A person has faith in eternal life and therefore plants seeds. What is in the seed is absolute, and what yields or grow out of that seed is also absolute. So if you're looking for a marriage in harmony, you got to plant seeds of harmony. If you're looking for a marriage and a relationship to be everlasting, then you got to plant seeds that will produce and grow as the marriage continue to build on year after year, day after day. See, this subject is so deep that we cannot cover the sacredness and the understanding of marriage is based upon self-sacrifice. So we're going to touch on it. I'm going to come back with a couple more points. I know my wife is eager to jump in, so go ahead, Booby.
I'm not eager to jump in. I was listening, but if you want me to,
I most certainly do.
Because I don't know if you want me to jump in right now, because I'm going to take it back to.
Well, you go ahead.
From the beginning, and talking about sacrifice. A lot of my I wanted to address that self-sacrifice thing because a lot of my babies, a lot of my daughters, and even some of my sons, they are in relationships with young men or young women. They in relationships, and the women are making sacrifices that I tell them they should not be making until that man put a ring on it, take them down the aisle, and they say, I do, and make that commitment. Because so many of my daughters are, let's face it, a lot of our children are living together, right? They are, well, they don't call it shacking. They just say we living together. And they say it, it's funny because they talk about the economy and it's easier for them to live together. And I'm not going to get into all of that. That's on you. That's your choice. That's between you and God. But what I do want to say to my girls is that you should not be feeling like you are making the sacrifices, right, to make this relationship between you and your boo work. You don't need to be making those kind of sacrifices until you become Mrs. whoever that person is, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't want you to think that when you come on and you hear us talking, we are talking about people who are actually married, the ones that took the vows, right? For better, for worse, and all of those kind of things, who actually have, like my husband said, the contract, right? So you don't have the contract just because y'all sleeping together, just because y'all intimate, just because y'all making love. That is not a contract. You need something, a binding written contract that says what's yours is mine and what's mine is yours, right? And so at that point is when those sacrifices should be being made. So I also want to say that my husband said something very profound, and I'm happy to hear him say it from a man's perspective, because for the most part, the woman is always going to give more, right? So I'm trying to teach the young women that they call me, well, I did this and I did that. Now I'm talking about my babies that are even married, and I say to them, listen, sweetheart, women are always, we're going to give 100%. We are going to make the sacrifices that are necessary to make this work. So you can't, whoever told you that 50% was going to come from him and 50% was going to be on your behalf was absolutely fooling you, right? Because for the most part, it's going to be, like my husband said, 80-20, right? Because the woman is going to sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice because you married to your king, you married to your man. You're going to come home, you're going to go to work, you're going to come home, you're going to have babies, you're going to have to take care of them children, you have to cook dinner, you're going to have to do laundry, unless you have one like mine who do all of that with you. They come far and few between too. But I'm saying we make the most sacrifices. We do a lot of self-sacrificing so that our home can be that one of peace. I always talk about, the sacrifices that we make simply because we want to have peace in our home. And I want to say this to the women: always remember that you are the bearer of the peace, right? So I use this analogy all the time. If I come home from work, I've had a rough day, I done had it out with somebody at the job, a parent done made me mad, now I'm twisted, I'm upset, I'm angry. I come home, I done talked to one of my kids on the phone, somebody done messed with them, they done really set me off. Now I come home, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm frustrated. My husband called me and asked me to stop at the grocery store because he wanted a certain thing for dinner, and I had already had out what I wanted to make for dinner.
Did you make my lamb chops tonight? We bought those lamb chops from.
Oh, baby, I got you. I'm gonna make them tonight when we finish.
You gonna make my leg of lamb?
I'm gonna make them tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
You told me I did tonight. Night. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. You brought there up about. There you go.
Right. So they want you to do all this, and now you got to come home and you got to get it together, right? You got to bring that spirit of peace in the door with you, because you don't want to bring the spirit of frustration and aggravation, and you're tired and you got to do this and you got to do that, and you feel like you're doing it, but you're doing it begrudgingly. So a lot of times what I used to do, I would have those self-talks with myself on my way home, come in the car, like, okay, get it together, Connie. Get it together, pull it together. You got to go home, get your mind right. You got to go home. You got to cook dinner. You got to make sure the kids get their homework done. You got to make sure that their lunches is ready for tomorrow. You got to do all of those things that's necessary. No, this I'm saying when we used to. I'm talking about our past experience. So you don't have to do I don't have to do none of that no more. But I'm helping those sisters who have to do this, right? You're still experiencing all these things. You still got young children in the house. So what I'm saying to you is you're going to have those self-conversations, right? Take the time to meditate on your way home in the car. Put on some good music that's going to get you in the right spirit, so that when you enter your home, you enter with the right spirit, so that your king, right, he draws from you, right? He's going to draw that peace. If he comes in and he senses frustration and aggravation, because it exudes from us when we come in. So if he senses that, then that's what you're going to get in return. So I want to help you all to kind of ease the pain a little bit, that when you go in, that's one of the self-sacrifices that you're going to have to make. But at the end of the day, guess what? You're going to go with the spirit of peace, and then the house is going to be full of the spirit of peace. All right. So those self-sacrifices, yes, they do happen. Yes, my husband has to make sacrifices as well. But I do believe that as women, we are the ones to make the ultimate sacrifices, to make sure, because that's what God put in us. We're the nurturers, right? We're the bearers. We're the caretakers. And that's what we have to do. A lot of times it's hard. Well, I don't feel like doing it. He need to be doing it. No. Okay. You keep that mindset. And you're going to come back and you're going to review this in a few months, in a few years. And you're going to say, I remember when Sister Connie was telling me that we are going to be the ones that have to make those sacrifices to make it work. Self-sacrifice, deny yourself. And that's one of the things I think that a lot of married couples don't do. I was talking to some friends of mine. I can't expect one thing from my husband, right? And not expect the same thing from myself. So I can't expect him to make the sacrifices that are needed to make our marriage work. But then I don't want to turn around and make those same sacrifices or sacrifices that will complement that which he is trying to accomplish in our relationship. So we have to begin to not only look at the other individual, but we have to look inside ourselves and say, what is it that I'm doing? Or better yet, what is it that I'm not doing that's going to help this marriage to be a success? Because a lot of times we like to shift the blame to the other individual as opposed to going and looking in the mirror and saying, okay, Connie, what is it that you're not doing? Right? Or what is it that you're doing, but you're half doing? And those are the hard conversations that we have to have, but we have to have them in order for us not to have 2/3 of marriages ending up in divorce yearly.
I want to say this. I want to go back on this one particular point, and that many times husbands and wives need to forego something that they want. That's the kind of self-sacrifice. You do it for your children, you do it for your family, you have your wants and needs, but you gotta, like, a man's duty and responsibility. See, a lot of people don't understand their deem in marriage. What's your lane? What's your role? What's your responsibility? And so a man has to make certain he's judged. Basically, a man is judged based on how well he maintains and provides for his family. So you have to keep that in mind in your marriage in order to keep the harmony in the marriage. Marriage is based upon, again, self-sacrifice. Now, I'm going to tell you something, a sacrifice that we as men, but see, people don't come to understand this. I'm faith. So me being a man of faith, my reality is my faith and the guidance in my faith, not what I see in this world. That's not my reality. You know, I read in one of the books that she reads often, you in the world, but not of the world. So I had nothing to do with what's going on in this world, because my sacred writings teaches that 99% of this world is built on a lie and deception. So the only truth that I can see as a man of faith is in the guidance and instructions that my ancestors and the Creator gave to all of those that walk the line of divine. But if you look at Genesis, for example, you go to Genesis, the 21st chapter and the 12th verse, you will find that Abraham had two sons. But we find in Genesis 21st chapter, the 12th verse, that Abraham didn't want to send his son out of the house, even though he was being a bad influence on Isaac. But the divine commanded the prophet, the divine commanded his friend Abraham, to listen to Sarah on this point. He told, the divine commanded him. And you find it in Genesis, the 21st chapter, 12th verse. Now, why I'm saying this, think about this example of self-sacrifice that's required in a marriage. That was an amazing sacrifice on the prophet part. Why? We must regain the creation of the kingdom of the divine, meaning that we have to be willing to make those kind of sacrifices based on his instructions in order for our marriages to fall back in line with the Creator and not this foolishness you see today. There's a reason why marriages are falling apart.
Well, why did you say that it was a major sacrifice? Because he listened to Sarah?
Right, because he did not want to put his son out. He didn't want to put Hagar out. He didn't want to put the mother and the son out, even though he put Hagar out. I mean, after Mother Sarah passed away, made her transition, he went back and married Hagar. But see, people don't know about that part because they ain't reading the scriptures correctly. But he went back and married her. But the point is, he never wanted. The sacrifice was,
he went back and got her and his son.
Yeah, but the point,
brought them into the house. But I thought that was before Sarah even died.
No. So the point I'm making,
Sarah knew.
No. But the point I'm making is that he did not want to make that kind. It was painful for him to make that sacrifice, just like it was painful for him to make the sacrifice to take his son and to slay him, because he was commanded by the Creator. So the point is that we must understand in marriages and harmony in marriages, words and languages make minds, and that's your reality. So you can't cuss out your wife. You can't cuss out your husband. You can't cuss each other, because when you cuss your mate, you cussing your second self of yourself, and then therefore you are cursing your own marriage.
So that comes with time and learning and growing and all of that kind of stuff. That doesn't just happen overnight. You don't get to that place overnight.
Well, people don't get to that place overnight. Simple point. Only for a simple point, people are not being taught properly, and some do not have the proper examples in order. Because no man should be without a wife. That's just plain and simple.
Right, but what I'm saying is, when you talk about not cursing one another, you know what I mean? You grow to that point. You don't just not cursing one another. You get in arguments, you tell one another off, you say things that you don't word, you put words out there that you can't go and grab back. That comes with learning. That after a period of time, well, you know what I mean, again, of learning an individual and understanding and knowing.
This is the breakdown in our society. Is because our society have gotten away from tradition. Our society have gotten away from customs. Our society have gotten away. You talk about Juneteenth, and we talk about slavery, either 1616 or 1619, whichever one you want to choose, and how you've been stripped of everything that was of value, that you didn't know nothing about divorce. You didn't know nothing about all of this foolishness that you see today. So where did it come from? It didn't come from our ancestors. It didn't come from who we are. And if we are who we are, and a people of faith, I'm talking about people of faith, you have the opportunity to return. You're free enough now to seek and live in accordance to the truth. So the point that I'm making is that we as people of faith have to recognize that our true selves is already coded and written in divine scripture. So any man who does not have a wife is actually left without joy. There's no greater heaven for a man from the foot of a woman. So when he comes into that, and then he's without blessings, he's without goodness. It says this here, he is without joy, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. We find that in Deuteronomy 14 chapter 26 verse. So you need a wife. A man, the wife represents the total joyness of a man's essence, but a man got to come to understand that. So that's the self-sacrifice when we come to see that. The sacred writers say that a man is in a joyful state. You heard my wife say about she want to make sure that she said, sisters, we control you control the peace in the house. I'm now we're gonna do some teaching right now. Huh? So what she said, and she said, we control the peace. So a man is in a joyful state when he is in his household with his wife, and she is in a peaceful state. So she releases a fragrance of spiritual fragrance of peace and love and joy in that home. Now you must understand that a woman, she controls the peace in the home. That's that virtuous woman. This is my second point. That's that verse 1. I'm not talking about this so-called worldly reality is producing. You can have this so-called reality show that's going on in this world. I'm talking about what the Creator put in us, in our essence, when he created man and woman. Huh? He created them so that man shall not be left alone. So he took a rib, and the rib was bent. You know why he could have took a rib from the leg. He could have took a rib from the arm, straight, but he took one that's bent, because that woman, she would bend, when that woman is in that joyful state, she would bend that man back into line, and he will go and do what he needs to do. So when we say this, and it says, he who is without blessing, to cause a blessing to rest in your home. These are the words spoken by the prophet Ezekiel. Write that down, Ezekiel 44:30, meaning that the blessing comes through one's house, through one's wife. That's where we at. That's why you my blessing.
Well, I try to be. I work hard at it. It's not
You do
easy,
very
but
well.
I try to, be a blessing and
But
not a curse.
let me say something.
My God, I don't want to be a
the
curse.
reality is that the more you put work in something, the better you are to perfect that something. So the more we work at it, communication, that's self-sacrifice. You got to be able to bite down on certain things, man.
But even so, babe, you were saying something about you were talking about the blessings and the cursings, and not, we can't cuss one another out. And I think that comes with growth like that. I just don't think that even people of faith, people who came up line upon line and precept upon precept, your mate can take you there, right? Get you to that point where you about to blow, and instead of blowing, instead of blowing your top, you do blow your top, but you blow it with your mouth. And so then we put those words out there. We say things that we don't mean. We say things that we want to grab back, but it's too late because we've already put them out there. You don't curse me out. I don't curse you out, but it ain't present no more. But I'm saying, it doesn't. Babe, you was a cusser. Admit it to the people.
What do you mean? What you call a cusser? I wasn't no cusser. Now, I had an aunt named Aunt Millicent. Now, she was a cusser.
Babe.
I got some folks that was a cusser, but I ain't no Medea. I ain't no cusser.
No, you're not a Medea. I'm
so
saying when you would get upset, you would use language other than
like what? Dawn?
That's it. No. You would use words.
What do you mean, like shucks?
And so, and other people do that. I know it. It happens. It's like it happens, right? And so, but you grew to that point. It took me to saying, babe, I don't like when you curse. Babe, don't do that. Babe, don't this. And eventually, over time, you begin to learn self-control and make those self-sacrifices so that we could become in harmony, and we could have those tough conversations, or we could have an argument, but you didn't have to cuss me out, or I didn't have to use Fallon. But I didn't cuss because my mother was a cusser. Like, she must have been like your Aunt Millicent, right?
No,
but my mama was a cusser.
Aunt Millicent.
She couldn't touch her. Oh my God! But anyway, because my mama could go.
My Aunt Millicent, she'd take you to school and teach you how to cuss.
Well, I grew up saying I was never going to use that language because I heard it so much.
But she be on point. I don't know how she did it, but when you got the message when she got it done.
But you can still get and I was going to say that. My husband, I didn't curse, but my husband still got the point. So for me, he didn't have to cuss in order to get his point across. All he had to say, all he needed to say was what he needed to say. But when you put that cuss word in there, it give it like a dagger, right? And so it took time for me, and it took time for him to learn that was something that really was damaging for me, and that it really hurt me. So if I ever got to that point, like my mother said, she could chew you up. What they say, chew you up, spit you out, and all of that kind. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that person.
And dare you to bleed.
Cut you and dare you to bleed with their mouths, right? And so we had to learn. It took time for us to get to that point where we can have a decent conversation without cursing somebody out or without arguing. And I even try to tell my daughter-in-law to be, we have to learn, the women, we have to learn how to close our mouths sometimes, right? Because even if you're not cussing him out, I tell women all the time, even when I'm counseling, that we can emasculate the man with our mouths by the words that come out of our mouths. You may not cuss them, but the things that we say to cut them down in their heart and in their manhood, and to attack their ego and to attack their personage, can do a whole lot of damage. And so you almost like backing that man up against the wall, and then he has no other choice but then to retaliate. So to my sisters, to those women out there, to my daughters who are out there, listen, let's learn how to watch our mouths, learn what we say. You know what I mean? That's another thing of the self-sacrifice, because he could go off on a tangent, but I always tell my babies, he can't argue by himself, right? So you're gonna have to learn how to give him the silent treatment. Let him keep on going on and on. After a while, he's gonna realize he's not getting no response from you, right? And he's gonna have to shut it down because you're not going to argue with him. But that is the time when you make that self-sacrifice, when you go inside yourself and quiet your own spirit.
A lot of times people ask me this question. They say, Manuel, why you love your heart? Why you still love your wife 30-something years later so hard? See, A man who lives without a wife is left without. Sacred writing says that the wife is his protection. She's his second self. That's where you get that, they say your better half. She's sensitive. So she's very sensitive to things that even come to a good man that has a good name. See, that virtuous woman upholds his good name in his absence. So what we find is that the wife, it's like, and we find in Job, the 6th chapter, 13th verse, it says this here. Let me say this here. It says this here. Is it that I have no help in me? What are you talking about? And that sound wisdom is driven from me. What he's talking about is it that I not have no help in me? That person is making that sacrifice for me and with me and thriving inside me. See, they talk about that wife. So a man needs, that's why he created for a help me, not MEAT, brother, but that help me to reach your goal and your purpose and why you on this planet. Because you on this planet, and that's why you take on a wife to help you rectify the damage that you have done to your soul and the sin that you have committed. And that's what Teshuvah, we got to go listen to other lessons. But the point is that's why that woman, that wife is considered the protection of that husbandman. So we must understand that, because without that wall of protection of a wife in your life, then you all out in the open. You everywhere. You all over the place. But when you lock down and you commit self-sacrifice, man, in a marriage, you ain't got time for nothing else. I mean, I see grown men beating little kids to the arcade for the GameStop, for the games and whatnot. What are you doing? How you have that much time? How could a man in his real deen and faith have any time to play a video game? It's beyond my, I can't even imagine.
Well, that's because you don't play.
No, it has nothing to do with it. Just think about this.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me
finish.
How can a man get involved in a series on TV and spend all of his time, his downtime, watching that TV series? Yeah, that same thing. That's their way of relaxing and chilling. Because you sure relax and chill watching your show.
Let me tell you something. Don't be trying to. I ain't watching no foolishness. That's the other thing.
No, but still, but you enjoy it. You engage. No.
I'm being educated. I'm using
educated.
I know it's educated. I ain't saying that. I'm being educated.
No,
you hear what I'm saying?
Just like they be on that day, you watching that show.
Like I just said, grown men having that much time for that? No. We must be on our deen that everything we doing is contributing to the elevation of our intellect and our service to the master of the universe. So we have to restructure this thing. But the point is that he who is without a wall, a woman shall go around. A woman shall go around a man. Jeremiah says that a woman shall go around a man. In Jeremiah 31st chapter, some of y'all want to say, wait, that is at Jeremiah 31st chapter, 21st verse. She is a protective wall of her husband. Why do you think she is sacrificed as what they call your better half? It's because that woman is unique in her essence. And so when you talk about self-sacrifice, we need to understand our deen. We really need to understand our role and what will make your marriage work. So people, it's all this surface ain't gonna get it no more, man. We got to go deeper into this thing, because you in warfare constantly. Now, if your marriage is out there all doing everything else that this world is doing, then you cool. You good, because they don't need you. There's nothing for them to try to tear down. But if you try to uphold your faith and you trying to live your marriage and govern your marriage according to your faith, oh, you're going to be tested. You're going to always be tested because marriage is a blessing. And whenever a blessing comes into your life, you're going to have a trial right next to it. You're going to be tested right next to it. So you constantly being tested in your marriage. I don't care who you are. You're going to constantly be tested because you represent an institution. If you enter your faith, you represent an institution that is everlasting in this life and in the world to come.
And with that, we got to end.
No, we don't. We still
Honey,
got a few more minutes. I got a couple more points to make.
Honey,
well, we must gonna be doing a part 2.
Honey, we're not gonna do it part 2.
We're gonna do it. I'll come and do a part 2 maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe he'll come and week. He'll come
because
and do a part 2.
The fact of the matter is this. The fact
I feel like you still got something in your belly, right? But honey, we gotta let the people go, right?
People ain't gotta go.
It's in your gut.
They can put on pause and come back. What you talking about?
No. We
ain't on no time. Nobody paying us under even go. So what you talking about? He give us overtime when we talk about his goodness. You're gonna have to come back and
continue this, okay? But we do need to go, all right?
Marriage is based upon self-sacrifice.
It is.
And so let me say this here. Let me say this before I go, okay? Because I think this here is very important that I put this out there. The sacred writings say this, brother. One who loves his wife as he loves himself and who honors more than himself. The sacred writings say this. When you talk about self-sacrifice in a marriage, brother, marriage is based on self-sacrifice. You must love your wife as you love yourself. And you must honor her more than you honor yourself. So when you get to that point, then you have moved to a higher level in this institution, this beautiful, amazing institution called marriage.
And with that being said, I also believe that, and we're closing, that I believe that that is so because the woman is going to honor you, King. She's going to honor you. When she makes that commitment to you, she's going to honor you.
Not all of them now, but ones of faith.
Well, no, I don't know everybody's faith. I know what my faith is, but I don't know everybody's view on what their faith is and what they believe in. That's why I ain't saying it. I don't know, but if you have a faith, okay, whatever your faith is,
your faith,
yes.
People are goodwill.
Whatever your faith is, yes. If you have a goodwill and you want to do what is right, yes, I totally, absolutely.
And let me tell you this here, and correct me if I'm wrong. I believe in this principle with my wife, my children, people around me. Self-sacrifice is to look for the good and focus on the good in each other, not the bad. Don't bring up the bad. Focus on the good. Look for the good. The sacrifice, even if they say something you think is out of place, look for the good.
And if it ain't no good in it,
make some good. Because let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about this.
Let it go on by.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you this here. This is something wise I read not too long ago. And it says this. In bad, there's good. In evil, there's good. And in good, there's evil. But we must focus totally on the good.
And that's very important. So to all of you out there, as we close, what I want you to do this week is focus on the good, right? For the remainder of the week, no matter what you get into,
self-sacrifice.
No matter what you experience, no matter what happens, focus on the good. And if you can't